it's Andrea, or Confessions of a Book Addict. Today I'm going to be doing my summer TBR, and it is quite extensive. I'm hoping to read 14 books. I don't know if that's possible, but these are ones that they're really at the top of my TBR, so I want to try to get to them before September. So first off, right now, I'm currently reading Strange the Dreamer from Laini Taylor, and I'm loving it. It took a little bit to get into it, almost about 200 pages, about 191. It started to make a little more sense. I'm not the type who likes like a mystery in a book. I like to kind of know what's going on as it's happening. Once you found that like missing piece of the storyline, it's just I just grab it and I'm like I love it. And it's about Laszlo, who's a librarian and an orphan, and he was raised by monks, and he was obsessed with the lost city, which is now called Weep, because the name of the actual city just disappeared one day, like magically disappeared. So the story follows him, and it's actual dual perspective of him and another character who I won't give it away because Laini Taylor's books, if you say too much, it gives a lot away. And it's a journey of, does he actually get to go to the city that he loves to help them? So it's very good. I'm about halfway through. But I've also been marathoning, which is rare for me to marathon. It's kind of rare for me to marathon stuff. I did just marathon all the Shadowhunter books, so maybe I shouldn't say that. But I've been reading The Raven Cycle, and I'm loving it. And right now I'm on Blue Lily Lily Blue, which is the third one. And I've only been reading them like a month. This is about basically, it's 4 boys. It's Noah, Ronan, Adam, and Gansey. And then the girl Blue. And her family is psychics, and Gansey's obsessed with this dead Welsh king, and it's psychics and a lot of magic in it, and the plot's not the best part for me, but the characters are just amazing. I just need to stay with these people. I love Adam. He's really good. And Gansey, of course. They just have such... Maggie Stiefvater's writing is just so strong character-wise. So those are the 2 books I'm reading right now. To do next... The Raven King, which is the last book in the Raven Cycle. And I like to read more than 1 book at a time, so I'll probably be doing that one. And this was an Alcrate book, Eliza and Her Monsters. And they made a different cover for the Alcrate version. It's very subtle differences. And this is by Francesca Zappia. This is a girl who has an online comic, Monstrous Sea. And then there's a guy who goes to her school who writes fanfiction about it. And then it kind of goes into, what happens when it's found out that, that she is the author of this comic. Does she prefer online life or real life? So that one sounds really good, and I've heard a lot about it. People keep saying that it takes them like 2 days to read. So that's kind of like a contemporary. I tried to mix together the contemporaries and the fantasy, because I do tend to read a lot of fantasy. But I buy contemporary as well, so they need to get read. But the rest, they're kind of not in order. I don't know. It'll just depend on what I feel like reading at the time. But I've heard nothing but good things about the Mistborn trilogy. So this one is Mistborn: The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I actually bought the box set from the UK because they're just so pretty. And This is high fantasy about, basically, it says right on the front, what if the Dark Lord won? Then it has the concept of allomancy, which I guess is the study of metals, from what I understand. So this should be just an interesting, new, and unique world, because I don't think I've ever read anything about that. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, it's a little big, so we'll see. And to lighten things up a little bit, Queen's a Geek by Jen Wild. Honestly, cover kind of sold me, but it takes place in like a Comic-Con setting. And I was not a big fan of Comic-Con because it's a lot of people. But I love BookCon, and I loved Book Expo. So I do like cons, and I actually really like dressing up for Comic-Con when I went. I dressed up in like an old style, like a little top hat, which actually kind of now reminds me of the Mad Hatter. It's not going on because my hair's up. But I made that with some stuff from, I just bought the watch, and the rest of it was from the library. They let me borrow some stuff, which was really cool to decorate it. And I think the hat was $5 from Savers. I digress. So this says 3 friends, 2 love stories, 1 convention. So that looks like it's going to be really, really quick read. I've been wanting to read this forever, The Inexplicable Logic of My Life, from Benjamin Alire-Sans. And I loved Aristotle and Dante Save the Universe. And it sounds like it's similar types. I don't want to say similar characters. But he has a gay father, and they're from Mexican descent. And it's like a loving family, which in a lot of YA you're not getting that because they want the the protagonist to be able to do things on their own. They leave out parents intentionally when they write the books. So, but it is nice to see that sometimes. And it says, he's going to have to confront issues of faith, loss, and grief. So, Sal discovers that he no longer knows who he really is, but if Sal's not who he thought he was, who is he? I really just like his writing style, and as you see, this is still an arc, and so I've had this on my TBR for, I want to say 6 months or so, at least. I have Scarlet from Marissa Meyer, and this is the sequel to Cinder. It's in the Lunar Chronicles, and the best way to describe the Lunar Chronicles are fairy tales in space. So, like, if you read Cinder's, I'm not spoiling anything here, Cinder's a cyborg. So I had read Cinder and I had listened to Heartless, and I loved them both. So I downloaded the audiobook for Scarlet, and I'm hoping it comes through from the library. I canceled my Audible. I love Audible. But after Book Expo and BookCon, I looked around my room and I'm like, the book shopping got a little out of control. I'll have to do a bookshelf tour one day, but honestly, all my books don't even fit on the shelf, so I have a bookshelf made of books. A lot of Russian art books, just laid out above my bed so that they're not, hidden under my pillows. So yeah, this is the sequel, and I heard the 3rd book in the series the best, Cress, which is about Rapunzel. This is about of Unrequited from Becky Albertalli, which again I got from an Alcrete. This is a girl who has who's had 26 crushes in her life, but they've all been unrequited because they've all been a secret. And then her twin sister's like, oh, you have to woman up. And so it seems like her sister's new girlfriend comes along, and there's a boy that comes with her, and she's like, oh, can I like this one? Or is this boy at work who's like a Tolkien nerd, someone that could she possibly be interested in, basically is what it says on here. And I think a Tolkien nerd would be perfect. Can't find many of those these days. Another one I have is A Gathering of Shadows by v.E.Schwab. So I read A Darker Shade of Magic, and I really loved it. Then I heard, okay things about this one, and that the 3rd one's really good, so I kept putting it off. But you know what? I read inside, and to me that sounds good. I don't want to give too much away, but in A Darker Shade of Magic, there's 4 Londons. There's Red London, White London, Grey London, and Black London. And there's 2 magicians in these worlds that can travel between all the Londons. And the main character, Kel, is one of them. And he basically delivers messages between the governments of the 3 Londons mostly, because Black London's, the magic has taken over, and you can't go there anymore. Supposedly. So, and then, he gets in a lot of trouble with something he has brought back from one of the Londons that he wasn't supposed to. And that's the premise of the 1st book. I don't want to go into the 2nd book, I don't want to spoil anything from the 1st book, because they're really good, and 2 years in a row, I've missed this author at BookCon. Last year, it was because we were at Comic-Con, and it was at the Javits Center, and I lost my son's stroller for an hour. I was in tears. So by the time we got to the book con part of the Comic-Con, her panel was over. And then this year, I missed the panel because I was online for the signing for Laini Taylor, and I had a ticket for her signing, but by that time in the day, I was so done standing on lines. And Booksplosion was going on, so like you had to choose. So I gave it to the girl outside the v.E.Schwab panel that was going on, so hopefully someone who really wanted to meet her as well, got that ticket. And I'm hoping to catch up on some of her books, so next year, if she comes again, which according to her YouTube channel, she's writing a lot right now, so hopefully she'll be there next year. I would have read more from her, and I'll appreciate more. I actually saw her in the hallway. I was outside, going into a room to wait online for her panel, and she's just running through the hall to another panel she was going to be on, and she ran into Jesse the Reader and gave him a hug, and I'm just like thinking, what is this life? So I didn't go up and interrupt or anything, If anything, I should have just taken out my camera and been like, oh my god, I sort of saw her. Not. So like I said, I'm on a book buying ban. So A Dark Duet just came out, which is the sequel. As you tell, I love v.E.Schwab and her writing. It is the sequel to The Savage Song, which I have not read either. But I love the idea because it's a YA novel, which is why it's Victoria Schwab. Her adult novels are v.E. Schwab, which Mistborn, A Gathering in Shadows, and I'm going to show you guys another book, Dark Matter. Those are all adult fantasy. So kind of proceed with caution. This is her young adult duology. And this Dark Duet just came out like 2 days ago, and I'm like, I can't buy the sequel until I read the first one. And this is a good story that has, it's like humans and monsters, and the monster wants to be good, and the human wants to be bad. How do you decide to be a hero or a villain when it's hard to tell which is which? And it says there's no such thing as safe. And if you look at the cover, I never noticed it. It's a violin, which is kind of cool. So, in order to buy our Dark Duet, I have to read The Savage Song. That was a really long rant about v.E. Schwab. I'm sorry, but I am like obsessed with her. You should check out her YouTube video. It's very good. Just put in YouTube v.E. Schwab and her channel should come right up. So the next book I have is another contemporary, and it's like a mental health book, Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Garnall. So it's basically, Nora is afraid of the world and stays inside. And then, she meets a boy, because they always made a boy. And he sees more in her than her phobia. So the tagline I like here is, can she let him go for his own good? Or can Nora learn to see herself through Luke's eyes? So from Emma Books, I heard amazing things about this book, and the cover's so pretty. What's it look like naked? The purple end papers. Ooh, you can see the cage. The cage that's on there. But, purple's my favorite. Well, this is Dark Matter from Blake Crouch. What happens when everything you love is taken away and you don't know what's reality anymore? And how do you then get back to the reality that you want, which is where his family is? Again, I've heard very good things about this. I hear it's really quick and that it really makes you think and appreciate your parents. So I really want to give it a shot. This one is thanks to the Alcrite Society, which is an Alcrite Facebook page, which is really good. It's a lot of fun. And even if you don't subscribe to Alcrite, there's a lot of people on there that don't subscribe. So to throw in a couple of smaller ones, I got the Lee Bardugo, Language of the Thorns, chapter sampler. But this is a pretty big chapter sampler. It's got 3 whole stories in it, from what I can tell. And it goes up to like page 100. And this is like, it says Midnight Tales and Dangerous Magic. So it would be tales that are in the Grisha universe that Lee Bardugo writes about. Anything by Lee Bardugo I like. I always recommend Six Crows and Crooked Kingdom. So another small one I have that I'll probably throw in there. Every Heart a Dory by Shana McGuire. It's kind of like, all these people that go to these fantasy worlds, what happens when they come back to reality? you fall through the rabbit hole. What happens when you end up back where you came from? Because what I love is it says, magical lands have little need for used up miracle children. So this sounds like it's going to be funny, and I mean, the cover's so pretty, and this actually has a sequel coming out. I'm not sure when, but if you look on Goodreads, which I love Goodreads, it'll list all that for you. And then another one I have is another sci-fi, which I'm not a big sci-fi person, but this is Zenith from Sasha Alberg and Lindsay Cummings. And this is the first in, I think, is what's going to be a series. What caught my attention, other than the fact that it's one of my favorite booktubers, A Book Utopia is one of the authors, is that it says there's a glass starship that has an all-girl crew. And I just like that idea of like a sci-fi book that's, run by girls. In a galaxy based on lies and illusion, who can be trusted? There's someone called the Bloody Baroness, who's known through the world as the Bloody Baroness, but, she's the main character, I believe, Andy. And she's known as Andy on her ship, because she's not, evil there. And they embark on a dangerous soul-testing journey that could restore order to their ship, or just as easily start a war that will devour worlds. That sounds really good. So, that is a lot of books. So, wish me luck. Strange the Dreamer and Blue Lily Blue, I'm already into. So, comment if you like any of these books. If you've read any of them and you have, please no spoilers, but let me know what you thought of it. So, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Keep reading.